right, all right, all right. Good afternoon, ladies. How are
Hello,
you?
hello. Doing well. I think that was a reminder they got to subscribe. That's why I stayed a little
Yeah,
longer.
exactly,
That's right.
exactly.
Do what the slide said before. Do it. Subscribe. And the
Subscribe.
ones who
There you go.
already have subscribed, thank you.
Yes, yes. Our numbers are going up. I'm so excited about that.
Yes.
Continue to share this. If you are enjoying this platform and the conversations, please share this out with someone else because we want to get the attention. We want to get in front of as many people as possible. So let me say, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. My ladies, my co-hosts are here. Miss Marcy and Miss Clivy are here. As you saw in the credits, we both have our own, all three of us have our own area of expertise, but we come here together on this platform to speak in one voice about today's topic, which is trauma,
Yes. Ooh.
understanding its impact. Who hasn't experienced some kind of trauma, right? And we like to say big and small. I'm trying to get away from that because who am I to determine the size of your trauma, right? So just trauma, period. Whether it was something that was short lived that you were able to overcome, conquer in a very quick timeline, or something that you're still working on to overcome, right? To conquer. So those traumas that we experience, they have an impact on us in one way or the other. And that's what our conversation will be focused on today. And I'm so excited for this conversation. Miss Marcy later on is going to bring us, she's our mental health, our in-house health advocate. So at the end, she's going to bring some information that'll be very useful to you. But before I even get started, I want to encourage anyone who may be challenged with their mental health in any way, regardless if it's traumas that you're overcoming or something else. We encourage you to reach out in your local areas, whether it's online or personally. You can be someone on nearby that you can reach out to, a good friend, a professional, what have you. Make sure that you reach out to a resource, because resources are how we get that support that we desire, that we deserve, right? So make sure that you do that. I want to say that out of the gate. I want to support that I want to state it so you can know that there are places you can go, and we're going to give you some information on that. So I'll talk about my own journey. Now, of course, this being the AM affirmation space, this is where we are, right? This is our house right now. This is where we are. We know we're always going to provide you with some type of affirmation to support what we're talking about, and we'll provide those later. But I want to talk about our voice when it comes down to traumas and understanding its impact. I think all of us can agree that typically when we go through some type of trauma, the first thing that goes silent is our voice. Our voice. That's the first thing that goes silent in our moment of trauma. And as I said earlier, whether it's a trauma that you conquered rather quickly because, okay, I got that. I've been here before. I know what to do. I know what tools to use. Or it's something that you're still working on today. For me personally, that's the first thing that goes, my voice. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to say anything about it. I don't want to email anybody. My voice goes silent for many reasons, whether it's embarrassment or overwhelm or shock, or I'm just out of words. I don't know what to say about this. I don't know how to talk about this, right? And this is recording is taking place post election, so I know that a lot of us are experiencing some type of trauma, right? Especially if
Yes.
we had a different expectation of the outcome of the election. It is what it is, right?
Right.
But we can't change it. But be it as it may, it's still a trauma. And I saw so many people in various places, different social media outlets, that were saying, I can't believe it. But beyond that, what about those personal things that happen that you just can't believe? And I'll speak to one most recently for me. And I can be very open about this because I'm not ashamed. I'm not embarrassed. I was recently, well, a few months ago, well, dang, almost 7 months ago, a little more than 7 months ago. I can't believe it's
Wow.
been that long. I was
Wow.
released from a job I had been on over 18 years. Unexpectedly, to get a phone call and have a less than 7 minute conversation for 18-year career to come to a screeching halt. Now, let me tell y'all something about that. I was told a year before to leave that job. I was told a year before to leave that job. Yeah, I was. But me, I'm not by myself, so I'm not even embarrassed about it. The money, the status, and all those things kind of like, stay here a little longer and work a plan and exit after dot, dot, and dot, right? So was it traumatic? It was. Did it take me a minute to get to a point and say, well, you were told a year ago to leave? You didn't. So there's my ownership, right? But does that take away from the impact of that situation in my life? I'll say no, it did not. I may have taken ownership of my actions, but the impact of that experience that I am experiencing, because I had to do an entire lifestyle shift as a result of that change in my life, right? A loss of substantial income, a loss of direction because I had such a routine of getting up at a certain time of the day, logging on. I've been working from home since 2013, before working from home was a thing. I've been working from home for a long time. I was traveling a lot, so there was no need for me to take up space in the office. So having a routine of getting up at a certain time and knowing that I need to check in with my team, it's just an entire routine because I've been doing such for such a long time. Waking up the next day, I'm still thinking I'm dreaming. I'm like, okay, I must be dreaming because this can't be real. And I bet my ladies here can probably attest to the same thing, that after experiencing a trauma, right at days after, maybe even weeks after, you're thinking that you're in a dream. This can't be. This really can't be, because just yesterday I was doing this and I had that. I had a busy schedule. Then all of a sudden that goes away. Or let's look at it differently. Some other trauma comes into your life. Something comes into your life and creates trauma as well, right? Having heard about a young lady that's being challenged with living right now. We got news about that today. And just thinking that trauma came into the lives of her and her family. How are they managing that? The impact that, oh my goodness, this has happened. How do you manage through the impact of a trauma? And I'll just tell you, for me, I had to just let it be for a moment. I did nothing. I did nothing. I didn't tap into my tools because honestly, I didn't even have the bandwidth to tap into my tools. I just existed for a few days, honestly. I just existed for a few days. I got up, I found things to do, right? I gave myself some tasks to do. But honestly, I did nothing because I really didn't even know what to do with myself. I literally did not know what to do with myself. But as time went on, I'm thinking, okay, all right, okay, you've hung out for about a week or so. Now what's next, right? So in now desiring to tap into my tools, because I didn't even have a desire to tap into my tools, because I literally was lost. I was doing some other things that I did on routine, and I kept up the face for those things that I was doing on a routine, and it was authentic, but underlying that authenticity was the reality that I have a new reality, right? So getting past that and deciding that, okay, you got to start doing some things. So I did that and started just activating some tools that I know to use, and started doing the things that job seekers do, and finding out that, okay, you're about 40 years, you're 40 years older than the last time you had to look for a job. So what is it like now? But you know what I have also accepted, y'all, ladies, is in this, all of this has a purpose. As I support women that I coach and that I lead in my workshops, if I come in contact with a woman who has experienced or will experience what I'm experiencing, without this experience, I wouldn't be able to authentically talk them through it. So it has a purpose, right? It has a purpose. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But we're gonna leave it right. I'm gonna leave it right there, because I know I need to give the other ladies a moment to chat. But traumas, they do impact you. But I will say this in closing, that once you get to a point of ready to take activation, to activate your tools, then you start to realize, you know what, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. So I'm going to move on over to Miss Olivia because I know she got plenty to share with us as well.
Yes, ma'am. And I like how you ended it on this too shall pass. Honestly, we don't realize that it's a season and these things happen sometimes. And there's a scripture that says, God will never give us more than we can bear. And sometimes it feels like this is definitely more than I can bear. Why am I going through this? And then after you
Mm-hmm.
pass through that season, it's like, okay, you meet somebody going through the same thing. So now you're able to share on your experience that would then
Mm-hmm.
help them. And then that's how we're able to encourage each other and strengthen each other as a people. So just know that this too shall pass. I did have 3 scriptures I wanted to share. And then just a short story on not even realizing that I was maybe traumatized. Um, so whatever level of trauma, and we'll hear from Marcy soon in regards to, are there different types of trauma, are there different levels of trauma, does a child experience trauma different than adults, right? How does that look? So regardless of the trauma, he shall cover you with his feathers, and
Yeah.
under his wings you shall find
Mm-hmm.
refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. And that's Psalms 91, verse 4 through 6. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalms 147, verse 3. And casts all, not some, not partially, all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. And that's just a reminder that this will pass as long as you are willing to accept it. Ms. Caron mentioned in regards to just accepting what has happened, right? And know that these things are not in our control.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you might blame yourself that it's your fault. It's not your fault. And also know that you're not alone. And I mean, you have, like I like to say, you have support, you have us, right? Us 3 coming together to empower you, to encourage you that, you may want to leave us a comment under this video. Maybe
Yes.
you want to call us and talk directly. We're not the professionals. We're not licensed. Maybe Marcy is, but I know I'm
I'm,
not.
I'm not.
But
I'm not.
we are, again, we go through different things,
Yeah.
different levels where my trauma may not be the same as Karon's and the same as Marcy's, but because of what I've been through, I might be able to, I love sharing scriptures. So I might be able to share a scripture that would encourage you to repeat it every day and find comfort in that, to know that better days will come, that this is just a season. I'm not going to stay here forever. An experience in regards to being traumatized, I think just the family dynamic that I was used to, both parents in the home, my siblings, and then moving from, I think I may have shared it, maybe not, from Trinidad to America, living in a basement that always flooded every time it rained. We had to always go upstairs, and we moved to a 1-bedroom apartment where it's 5 of us. And then so much violence in that area. So we had to move
Mm-hmm.
again. We moved into a 2-bedroom apartment. My brother left for the military, and we eventually were blessed to purchase a home. And not me purchase a home, but my parents purchased a home. And I remember just being this tight knit family, doing things for Christmas, always going to see the lights or going to Rockefeller Center, growing up in New York, I'm referring to, and just all the family things. And after about, well, when I got married, 2017 is when my marriage ended. And I remember I was criticized. I was, bashed, I like to say, for making that choice not to stay married. And I don't know if it was, again, being a PK, a pastor's kid, as they call it, that, I had to have this title of married, right? And even though you're going through things and you're unhappy and you're bitter and you're not the Clivia that we know, you got to stay in this thing. And that was painful for me to even hear those words. Long story short, a year or 2 after, the same person that was encouraging me to do that left my mom and left to where everything was stripped. It was the home, the church, the everything, right? And not even to say she had words to say. Like, there was just nothing she could have said. And I realized, going through a divorce and then having to deal with that like a year or two after, it was traumatizing, right? Because being, again, this family oriented person, which I still am, it was more so, I still haven't really explained things to my children as to why their grandparents aren't together, but it has been hard. And I was silent. I suffered in silence. I didn't want to talk about it. I still don't really talk about it. I'm
Mhm.
talking about it now on this platform because I want to be able to just encourage somebody that these things, we don't have control over it. And this year, actually in January, I had to forgive, I had to release, and it has been freedom for me because I'm like, why am I carrying this? Why am I traumatizing maybe myself of the thoughts of what could have been? But it is what it is, right? But I've learned that in every situation to be content and to know that better days will come. And it has come because I'm me again. And I know eventually the people involved would eventually find themselves. So that's my take on trauma. Again, I want maybe help from Marcy or even Karan. Are there different levels of trauma and
Can I
what does that look
interject
like?
something really quick?
Over to you,
Because I
Marcy.
noticed that I came
Sure.
from a perspective of income, right? Losing income. And Miss Clivia came from a perspective of family
Mhm.
trauma, right? So I think just in our sharing, we are presenting different perspectives and what trauma can look like
There you
and
go.
feel like, right?
Cool.
So, and this lets our
Yes.
audience know, and thank you so much for tuning in and listening. We're gonna call y'all our affirmers, the affirmations, the AM
Ooh,
affirmation space affirmers. That's what we're gonna
Right.
call y'all,
I love
right? So
it.
just listening, and Miss Martha's going to add her perspective from it, but just understanding that we have different forms of trauma, which I'm sure you already know because we have a smart audience, right? But just hearing our stories, and Miss Marcy being a mental health advocate, and not to put you on the spot, Miss Marcy, you can probably give even a different perspective about the different kinds of trauma even yourself have experienced. So please share.
So you said income, Clivia, you said family. So my
Mhm.
trauma growing up, and most of our trauma stems from childhood. Most of the things that
Right.
happen to us start off in childhood.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's when I was like, now I realize our parents screwed us up. Okay. And we as
Unintentionally,
parents,
unintentionally.
unintentionally, but we as parents we are screwing our children up, but
Yeah,
we're a little smarter than our parents. No,
yes.
I'm sorry, we're a little more aware.
Aware, yes.
Aware.
Yes, than our
Yes.
parents. So mine was emotional. Like there was
Okay.
no love in the house. There was no affection in the house. And my running joke with my mom, especially because me and my dad were tight. My dad, let me tell you, was the best father. He was the worst husband. Okay, period, point blank. Um,
Mm.
Emotionally, my mom was never there. Okay, so I grew up. I grew up with a box with my mother. The emotions, we didn't have them.
Yeah.
Period. But I've always been a very affectionate person. I've always been a very loving person. Um, and that my mother never could understand.
Mm,
And there was a resentment, and there was a resentment because her father unfortunately never learned how to love her. So when me and my dad would be together, like I would be up under my daddy, like until my dad died, and I was in my late 40s. I daddy, and she'd be like, "You and your daddy." But after her death, God was revealing a lot of things that I had to forgive her, and that was a yet another level of trauma that I had to start healing from. It's still forgiving my mother for a lot of the things that happened
mm,
because she didn't
yeah,
understand,
yeah.
and I had to forgive her even in death. I had to
Right.
forgive her, and I see that, she didn't know.
She didn't know, right?
She didn't know, and what she didn't know, she
She
couldn't
didn't know.
give to
Exactly,
me, and what
exactly.
she couldn't
Hmm.
give to me, I couldn't receive.
Right.
So
Right.
even now, if something triggers me and it goes back to the childhood of not being able to connect with my mom, I have to forgive her even more. I have to, and that's the thing. And when you say levels, that's one of the things
Mm-hmm.
that's considered. That's a whole different level that a lot of us will never accept. Like
Yeah.
they're dead. Why are you forgiving them? It's not for you. Forgiveness
Right.
is never for the other person.
For
The
them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
forgiveness is
Yep.
always for
For
you.
you. Yeah.
Because when
Yeah.
you allow someone to take your freedom, because they're taking your freedom if you can't forgive them.
Right.
They're
Mm-hmm.
holding
Mm-hmm.
you
Exactly.
hostage
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you can't forgive them. So remember,
Yeah.
forgiveness is never for that person. The forgiveness is
Yeah.
for this person,
I have a question,
you.
Miss Marcy.
So,
Would you
yes,
say that forgiveness of yourself is just as equally important or even more so important than forgiving the
more so,
other? You can't even
more so,
forgive them until you forgive yourself. Would that be right?
exactly, because of the simple fact, how am
Yeah.
I forgive you when I haven't forgiven myself? When I haven't
Yeah.
said, you know what, Marcy, give yourself grace. And when you
Yes.
are allowed to give yourself grace, you're
Yeah.
allowed to forgive yourself of your transgressions. My
Mm-hmm.
20s, Marcy, yeesh, yeesh. But guess what? I forgive her for being all the
Yes.
things, but I understand why she was all the things. She
Right.
didn't know. She didn't have
Yeah.
that love that she needed. So
Yeah.
I forgive that 20s Marcy, that 30 Marcy, 40s Marcy, this 50 Marcy's, the things that have happened. I forgive Marcy for yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So forgiveness, you right, Kron, of yourself first, because without that, you won't be able to forgive anyone
Right.
wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
say the words and that's surface, but when that soul can forgive somebody who has tormented your soul,
Yeah.
that
Right.
there is forgiveness.
So, with
Yeah.
that being said, and I'm going to quickly give an example of what did I have to forgive myself of in my story, and each of us can share what we had to forgive ourselves for, or felt like we need to forgive ourselves for in our trauma, so that we could forgive the other party or party. So, for me, with my being released from my job, I started to do a blame game. Well, what did you do wrong? What, you could have did this and you could have did that, and I had to really forgive myself for feeling like I did something wrong. Because with these corporations, they can let you go at any time for any reason. They may tell you it was on you when it really ain't on you. It's just they had some other plans, right? So
Mm-hmm.
um I had to forgive myself for feeling like I had did something wrong, and then forgive them because, again, I don't know what their real true reason is. And if I was holding anything against them, I had to let that go, forgive them,
Yeah.
and then I was able to move forward, forgive the situation, etc. So that's what forgiveness for me, forgiving myself so I can forgive them.
Yeah. And I totally agree. And even again, and I know we've had these conversations in regards to navigating divorce, the power of forgiveness, and here we are now talking about trauma and still involving those things because it's
Yeah.
something we have to practice all the time. And
Hmm.
I did have to forgive myself because I know I wasn't perfect in my marriage.
Right.
As much as I pretended to be, fake it till I make it was the the advice that I was given, and that's something that I
Hmm.
practiced. But I
Yeah.
had to forgive me, right? Because I don't think it was fair for some of the things that has happened, and I did have to forgive myself, which then allowed me to forgive my ex, and then eventually years later my dad. So the power of forgiveness again is for our
Hmm.
own freedom, because then we're able
Yeah.
to just maneuver life so much differently.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And also with me, and with the ending of my marriage, and it was the blame game. No, I wasn't perfect, but I also now I realize that
Yeah.
my soon to be ex-husband, he
She said that
he
with a
did never
smile.
wanted to heal. He never wanted to heal, and God said I wouldn't be able to be right here today with you, without, if I would have stayed in that marriage, if I would have tried to make it work, because of the simple fact it was toxic. It was
Hmm.
it was a
Right.
marriage of unwilling to process grief. And without the process of grief, nothing around you can flourish.
Yes.
Not forget, but process.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I have just a little something I want to just make note. And I'm gonna cut this short. But research indicates that women are more susceptible to post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD) than men. Why? With the studies showing that we experience PTSD 2 to 3 times more the rate of men. This heightened vulnerability is partly due to the nature of traumas women more frequently encounter, such as sexual assault and intimate partner violence,
Mhm.
which carries a higher risk of
Yeah.
PTSD levels, different levels.
Mhm.
Um, so despite the feeling, the findings, women remain underrepresented in the medical
Mhm.
research, leading to gaps in understanding and treatment of trauma-related conditions. The underrepresentation affects the development of target and effectiveness of existing treatments for women. So guess what? We experience as women
Mm.
PTSD 2 to 3 times more than men, but
Wow.
they don't research the why for women.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and this is just something, and I just grabbed a couple of paragraphs out of this particular um, article, but here's just a few places for PTSD. The National Center for PTSD, which we women 2 to 3 times more likely to suffer from
My goodness.
PTSD than men, call 988. 988. And if I could ask our affirmers, put this in your phone.
Yes.
Put
Mhm.
this in your phone.
Mhm.
I was a speaker at a conference once, and it was domestic violence, and we asked the people in our audience to put these numbers in their phone, because as we are advocates, all of us, when we see, you can feel when something's off, but if we had these numbers in the phone,
Mhm.
we can
Mhm.
Yeah.
Clivia, you could say, Marcy, something, and you feel something is off, hey, give me your number so we can stay in contact.
Right.
And what you can do
Right.
is you can give the number, because you got to think about it, most people who are being domestically abused, they can't go and look up in their phones, because if you're
Right.
somebody's looking
Right.
through your phones, you can
Right.
see my history. Okay.
Right.
Right.
So, and then that sometimes we have to think outside of the box,
Right.
because you feel like you can just find that them. No. So put these in our farmers, and then you have the stress hotline, disaster distress
Disaster
hotline.
distress.
Mhm.
It's 1-800-985-5990. Okay. And NAMI hotline. It's 1-800-950-6264.
And what
Now,
does that acronym stand for, Miss Marcy?
what is that? Ooh,
The NA.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Uh, I don't
We'll
have all of it. I
provide
can't
it
see it
when
all.
we'll
Yeah.
have the
Yeah, we'll find it.
acronym
I can't
meaning on
see
the
all
bottom.
of it.
Okay.
But our
Okay.
affirmers, and even our affirmers, go and look for some things that you can put in your phone just in case, because
Right.
after this, believe me, after this, when you listen to this, you are going to run into somebody who's going to
Yes.
need
Yes.
your help.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mhm.
They're going to
Right.
need your help. And
Yeah.
also, and we're talking about trauma. You can't talk about trauma without therapy. And we're just going to touch. I just want you to look. If you're looking for a therapist, it's therapy for Black girls. So go on the,
Yes.
go online and check therapy for Black girls. And this other site is Better Help.
Yeah.
So those are just two. And I didn't want to get too deep into the therapy part, but that's it's going to be a part. We're going to have a part two. We're going to actually have a part three. This is going to be a 3-part series.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and
How
but
about it?
you're right, because we have to, because we are 2 to 3 times
Yeah.
likely to
Yeah.
have PTSD.
Right.
So guess what? And we're underrepresented as far as
Yeah.
research. So we have to use this platform to
Yes.
let people know where to get help. And then as
Definitely.
Black women,
Yeah.
if just the women are underrepresented, then this is when we have all of this. Just
Yeah.
imagine these coming
Yeah.
up these next 4 years, how far back we're going to go. But as Black women, we we've got to be the voice, to be okay with saying I'm not okay, but I'm not okay, but I am willing to
Right.
get some help. I
Right.
need a therapist. I need a
Definitely.
group where I can
Right.
Yes.
just feel my feelings.
Exactly.
And don't be ashamed
Yes.
to feel your feelings.
Mhm. I got
Yeah.
therapy when I was when I out there. I forgot to mention that I got therapy when I was first laid off. I had to,
Okay.
because I didn't know how to
Right.
process this.
Process.
Never being
Yeah.
without
After
a
so
job since
long.
the age of
Yeah.
13. Never being without a job since the age of 13. I didn't know how to
Yeah.
process that. So I definitely I still had my insurance, so I tapped into that therapy. So Miss Marcy, thank you so much. And you know what? You're right. This topic is deserving of more episodes. So everyone
Definitely.
look out for part 2, 3, and whatever we need to sufficiently
A whole
vet out
series.
this, right? A whole series to sufficiently vet out this subject. With you
Yeah.
saying that we're 2 to 3 times more susceptible to experience PTSD. Come on now. We
And
really
at a
Mm-hmm.
younger age,
exactly.
them
Ex-
uncles that be coming over. Hey,
wait.
I know. I didn't mean to
That's
trigger
part three.
That's probably part 4 or 5. Yeah, but
I
we
mean,
have to.
it's
But we
not a.
have to
Go ahead.
protect our girls.
Yes.
So, and here's the thing: you have to be the conduit. We are Black women have to
Mhm.
protect our Black
Right.
girls.
Right.
Yes.
We automatically protect our men. And we gonna get to the men's part, but right
Yeah.
now, because
Mhm.
we are the root of
Yeah.
the earth,
Yeah.
Black women.
Mhm.
And guess
Mm-hmm.
what? Once we're healed, we have to go out and heal others.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't take the laughter. We were just laughing at Miss Marcy because she was talking about the additional episode. But this
Not.
topic is, yeah, this
Yeah.
topic is very serious. It is talking about the women who are the foundation of the world, right? With us
Yeah.
women is how we populate the earth as we've been asked to do. However, we do give men a lot of attention. Not that they don't deserve it. Now, don't get me wrong. But as a woman, I want to be healed so I can heal, right? So, with that being said, I think
Exactly.
we're going to go on to our affirmations. This topic is so juicy. We definitely have to have some follow up episodes. Ms. Marcia, I think you got some affirmations for us to share before we close out this series, this episode.
I do. Let me find it, because, whoo.
It
So I
might be
have
on
one
on
on
the
the.
screen.
Yeah.
Oh.
Made it easy
Look
for
at
you.
God. Won't he provide? Yes, he's a provider. I love it. Thank you, God. Thank you, Andrew.
Amen.
So, listen, each day I release pain. I invite peace. I deserve healing, joy, and love. I am open to receive it. I trust the journey, and I am grateful for each step towards my wholeness. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe,
Ashe.
ashe,
Ashe.
ashe. Woohoo!
Amen.
That was awesome. So, my affirmation that I'm going to say for today is I acknowledge my past experiences. We got to acknowledge them in order to give them
Yes.
some attention, right?
Yes.
And I
Yes.
recognize how they're shaping who I am today. A much wiser, a smarter,
Yes.
right? Smarter woman because of my experience. They are shaping who I am today, and I am grateful for who I am. Ashe.
Oh, Shay.
Ashe. And mine's, I am not alone. You are not alone. We are not alone. Amen.
Woo!
Yeah.
I like
Amen.
that one there.
Amen.
That was good. I like
Yes.
that one. So,
All
ladies,
right.
thank you so much for all that you have added. And our affirmers, if you're new to our community or you've been coming here to listen to these episodes, please take note of the information, the help information that we have that has been coming across the screen. If you want to reach out to any of us, the email address was on the screen. If Clippy, if you can put that email address back up again, if you want to reach out to us, please feel free. You can confidentially reach out to us, and we will help you
Yes.
seek out some help, right? Because this topic is so important. You want to join our communities. You want to email us about anything. Be nice now. Don't come here with no foolishness now.
Right.
But anything, if you want to join our community, you want some help, just want to reach out, feel free to email us. We are enjoying the comments that have been left on some of the previous episodes. We are seeing our numbers
Yes.
going up. If you haven't already subscribed,
Please
subscribe.
subscribe.
Turn those notifications on so you can see when a new episode has been posted. We are stepping up our speed of getting our episodes posted to the page, so you'll have even more
Yes.
content out there. And thank you again, Miss Marcy, Miss Clivia. It's another episode. What in the bucket?
Love you, ladies. In the bucket. Woo.
All right, ladies, everybody, thank you so much. And we're going to say so long until the next episode. And remember, you are your first priority. Act
So
like it.
act like it.
That's
All
right.
right.